she warned her best friend. If something happens to me, and then she vanished without a trace. Was it an accident, a crime, or something far more calculated? Stay with us because every clue in Sara's story leads to a shocking truth you won't see coming. Sara Malik had always trusted logic over fear. She was careful with her words, thoughtful in her decisions, and rarely let emotions guide her actions. That was why the moment felt so strange when she leaned forward across the small cafe table and lowered her voice, as if the walls themselves might be listening. "If something happens to me," she said quietly, "promise me you won't believe it was an accident." Aisha laughed at first, thinking Sara was joking, but the laugh died quickly. Sara's hands were trembling slightly as she wrapped her fingers around her coffee cup. Her eyes kept drifting toward the glass door, watching people walk past, as though she expected someone to appear at any second. "What are you talking about?" Aisha asked. "You're scaring me." Sara forced a smile, but it was thin and uneasy. "I'm probably overthinking," she replied. I need you to remember what I said." The cafe was busy, filled with soft music and the sound of cups clinking, yet a heavy silence settled between them. Sara took a deep breath and finally admitted that things in her life no longer felt right. She said she had begun noticing small changes, conversations that ended too quickly, questions that went unanswered, and moments where the truth felt carefully hidden. "There are things I can't explain yet," Sara said. "But someone close to me isn't being honest." Aisha pressed her for details, but Sara shook her head. She said it was safer not to talk about it in public. Her voice dropped even lower when she admitted she sometimes felt followed, even though she could never prove it. Once, she said, she found her apartment door unlocked when she was sure she had locked it. Before they left, Sara reached across the table and squeezed Aisha's hand. Her grip was tight, almost desperate. "If I suddenly disappear," she whispered, "please look deeper. Don't let them close the case quickly." Outside, the evening air felt unusually cold. Sara hugged Aisha goodbye and walked toward her car, glancing over her shoulder more than once. Aisha stood there watching until Sara drove away, a knot forming in her stomach. That night, Aisha tried to convince herself that her friend was just stressed, but the words echoed again and again in her mind. "If something happens to me." 2 days later, Sara stopped answering her phone. Monday morning arrived without any sign of Sara Malik. Her phone rang unanswered on her bedside table while her alarm continued to buzz, repeating itself every 10 minutes. By noon, her absence had become impossible to ignore. Sara was never late, never careless, and never unreachable. When she failed to show up at work, her manager called Aisha, asking if Sara had mentioned taking time off. Aisha felt her chest tighten. She tried Sara's phone again and again, but it went straight to voicemail. The unease from their cafe conversation returned, sharper than before. That evening, Aisha went to Sara's apartment with a spare key. The hallway was quiet. The door was locked, just as Sara always kept it. Inside, everything looked normal. Too normal. Sara's handbag was resting on the chair, her laptop was closed neatly on the desk, and her passport was still in the drawer. There were no signs of packing, no goodbye note, no mess suggesting a struggle. Her car was still parked outside the building, exactly where she had left it the night before. To Aisha, it felt as if Sara had simply stepped out for a moment and never returned. The police were called later that night. Officers walked through the apartment, making notes, checking windows, asking routine questions. At first, they treated it as a missing adult case. People leave voluntarily, they explained. Stress, relationships, pressure, there could be many reasons. Ayesha mentioned the warning Sara had given her. She repeated the words carefully, watching the officer's expressions change. Suddenly, the case felt heavier. The calm explanations faded, replaced by quiet seriousness. Investigators began checking phone records. They discovered Sara had received repeated calls late Sunday night. Most of them came from one number. It belonged to her fiancé, Imran. When questioned, Imran said they had argued and that Sara needed space. He claimed he left early and went straight home. But neighbors told a different story. One woman reported hearing raised voices past midnight. Another remembered a car engine running for a long time in the parking lot. As the night passed, Ayesha sat alone in Sara's apartment, staring at the silent phone. Every detail seemed important now: the half-drunk glass of water, the shoes placed neatly by the door, the feeling that Sara had been interrupted. By the time the police left, one truth was clear: Sara Malik had not planned to disappear. She had vanished. Imran arrived at the police station calm and well-dressed, as if he were attending a formal meeting rather than answering questions about his missing fiancée. He spoke politely, choosing his words carefully. According to him, the argument with Sara had been minor. They disagreed about wedding expenses, nothing more. He said she was emotional and needed time alone. But as detectives listened, small cracks began to appear in his story. Imran claimed he left Sara's apartment shortly after midnight. However, security footage from a nearby shop showed his car leaving the area at 2:14 a.m. When asked about the time difference, he paused before saying he had gone for a long drive to clear his head. The explanation felt rehearsed, not natural. Police also discovered that Sara had recently become unusually cautious. Her bank statements showed she had stopped sharing expenses with Imran. She had changed passwords on her phone and email accounts just weeks before disappearing. These were not the actions of someone planning a wedding in happiness. The biggest surprise came from Sara's laptop. Investigators recovered deleted emails and calendar entries showing secret meetings with a lawyer. The meetings were marked with fake names, hidden between work appointments. When the lawyer was contacted, he confirmed Sara had been seeking advice about ending her engagement. She believed Imran was hiding serious financial problems. According to the lawyer, Sara feared her name was being used on documents she had never seen. She felt trapped, unsure who to trust. Then there was the message. The lawyer revealed he had received an email from Sara 2 days after she vanished. At first, he assumed it was a mistake. But the email was not written in real time. It had been scheduled in advance. "If you're reading this," it said, "I didn't leave by choice. Please cooperate with the police." This single message changed the direction of the case. Detectives returned to Imran with tougher questions. This time, his calm began to fade. He admitted they fought more than he had first claimed. He admitted she accused him of lying, but he denied hurting her. Outside the station, media attention exploded. Headlines painted Imran as a suspect. Friends and relatives came forward, sharing stories of tension and control. Some remembered Sara growing quieter over the past months, less like herself. Yet, despite the growing suspicion, there was still no physical evidence tying Imran to a crime. Sara's secrets had been hiding in plain sight all along, and as each one surfaced, it became clear that the woman who disappeared had been preparing for something long before the night she vanished. With public pressure mounting, police expanded the search beyond the city. Phone location data showed Imran's mobile signal briefly connecting to a remote lakeside area late Sunday night. It was a quiet place, rarely visited, surrounded by trees and rough terrain. Investigators believed It could be the point where everything changed. Search teams arrived at dawn. Dogs were brought in. Officers scanned the shoreline, the woods, and the narrow dirt roads leading away from the water. After hours of searching, one officer found something caught between rocks near the edge of the lake, a light blue scarf. It belonged to Sara. The discovery sent shockwaves through the case. News outlets rushed to report it as evidence of foul play. But when forensic teams examined the scarf, doubts began to surface. There were no tears, no blood, no signs it had been dragged or submerged. It looked carefully placed, almost as if someone wanted it to be found. Detectives debated the meaning. Was it staged by Imran to mislead police, or was it something else entirely? As the investigation stalled, an unexpected witness came forward. A fisherman named Rafiq contacted authorities after recognizing Sara's photo on the news. He claimed that early Monday morning, around dawn, he had seen a woman who looked exactly like her near a bus station several miles from the lake. She was alone. Her hair was tied back differently, and she wore plain clothes, not the outfit described from the night before. Rafiq said she appeared nervous, constantly looking around, clutching a small bag. He remembered her because she asked him what time the first bus was leaving the city. This sighting changed everything. If true, Sara had survived the night. The scarf by the lake might have been a distraction, a false ending to an unfinished story. Investigators re-examined earlier assumptions. They reviewed traffic cameras near the bus station and found footage of a woman with similar height and posture, her face partially hidden. When Imran was questioned again, the pressure finally broke him. He admitted the argument had been intense. He admitted Sara accused him of ruining her life, but he insisted she left on her own after the fight. "I didn't stop her," he said. "She walked away." For the first time, detectives considered a new possibility. Sara had not been taken. She had escaped. And if that was true, then the most dangerous part of her plan may have been convincing everyone that she was gone forever. 6 months had passed since Sara Malik disappeared. The media had moved on. Imran had been arrested for financial crimes unrelated to Sara's disappearance, and the case was officially listed missing person, unsolved. Aisha, however, refused to let go. She kept Sara's photos on her phone, checked old messages daily, and replayed every detail of their last meeting in her mind. Then, one chilly morning, a plain brown package arrived at her doorstep, addressed in careful, familiar handwriting. Inside was a letter, folded neatly, written in Sara's handwriting. Aisha's hands trembled as she unfolded it. Every word felt deliberate, every sentence measured. Sara began by apologizing for disappearing without a word, explaining that she had been forced into silence for her own safety. She revealed a chilling truth. The argument with Imran that night was not just about money, it had been the tipping point. She had discovered not only that he was lying about debts, but also that he had been manipulating her finances, creating contracts in her name, and even threatening her with violence if she interfered. Sara realized that confronting him openly could have cost her life. The letter explained how she had carefully planned her escape. She left clues only for Aisha to find, ensuring someone could alert the authorities without exposing herself to danger. The scarf by the lake, the bus station sighting, even the scheduled email to the lawyer, all of it had been orchestrated to mislead anyone following her trail, to protect herself while buying time. Sara wrote about the constant fear she had lived with for months, the sleepless nights hiding in anonymous apartments, changing locations, and relying on strangers she could trust temporarily. Yet despite everything, She wanted Aisha to know she was alive, that she had survived not by chance, but by carefully executing a plan that no one could detect until the right moment. The final paragraph of the letter struck Aisha like lightning. I didn't vanish because I was weak. I vanished because I wanted to live. If you ever hear whispers or see reports tying me to misfortune, ignore them. I am safe, somewhere far from this life, but I wanted you to know the truth. Remember, survival is sometimes the bravest act of all. Aisha held the letter close, a mix of relief and sorrow filling her chest. Sara's disappearance was never officially solved, and she never returned to her old life. But the letter proved one thing: Sara Malik had outsmarted the danger, taking control of her fate in a way no one could have imagined. And in that knowledge, Aisha found a bittersweet comfort. Her friend was alive, free, and finally safe. Some stories don't end with justice. They end with survival.